Because you have been prevented. This is where the process was going on. They have barricaded you here, far from the collation table. Suddenly, the woman is saying the media should leave. If you don't plan to do anything, why is the media standing on her neck? The media is simply reporting what is going on here. Why is she ordering for the media to go out? It means that she's planning to do something funny in this hall. And nobody is moving an inch. We are all here.
Right. Thank you very much. So that's Broja Jemfi, who's a member of the National Democratic Congress.
And that is Obed King-Aglo at the Police Training Center, where he was engaging some members of the NDC. As we understand that the election, the coalition has stalled at the moment. We now have to go to the NDC headquarters where the press is underway.
We have decided to if you like, go slow on addressing the media so that we don't inflame passions and tensions that usually attend elections such as the one we've just gone through. But it seems to us that our silence is being taken advantage of by both the Electoral Commission and the New Patriotic Party to continue with the impunity they have been known for the past 8 years. The subject of today's presser has to do with what is happening at the police training school in Tettey. Some people call it recollation, some people call it collation, and so on. But whatever name you call rose, it will still smell sweet. And a decorated donkey still remains an ass. It cannot be turned into a horse. We in the NDC believe that what is happening at the police training school amounts to illegality. It is not founded on any laws of our elections. Neither is it based on any consensus that has been reached between the parties and the Electoral Commission. And so we want to inform the nation and to give notice to any officials of the commission and the police who are involved in the perpetration of that illegality to know that there could be consequences of their actions in future. We know the process of our elections is quite clear. After voting, votes are counted and the results entered on what we call the results declaration forms or the pink sheet, and the presiding officer at the polling station proceeds to announce the outcomes at the polling stations, after which all party agents sign and then are given copies of the results. The reason is that everybody will be having the same figures simultaneously. That is one of the most important checks in our elections. And that is why we always say that elections are won or lost at polling stations. Now, after what has been declared at the polling station, the law requires the presiding officer to paste a copy of the results declared at the polling station at the place where the election took place. And then, after all these declarations have been done at the various polling stations, then the parties, together with the Electoral Commission, will now meet at the Constituency Collation Center, where the originals of the results declared at the polling station, which will be in the possession of the Electoral Commission, will be produced, and tallies are made out of that EC copies. But to check that EC itself will not play games, all the participating parties will have their collation agents at the collation center, and they will come there with copies of each of the polling station results, so that when the EC collation, constituency collation officer mentions a polling station by name and code and mention the figures, then all the parties that have copies of the pink sheets will now verify and check whether the figures on their copies of the pink sheet tally with what the Electoral Commission is mentioning. This provision is a check on the Electoral Commission officers, so that they themselves cannot perpetrate fraud during the elections. Now, after we all agree on the figures as mentioned, because if everything is right, all the figures must tally, because the pink sheets are filled in quadruplicate, duplicate, quintuplicate, or whatever the case may be, depending on the number of candidates. About 16. So everybody will have the same copy. So the moment figures change and you find parties holding different documents with different tallies of votes, then there is a big problem. And that problem cannot be pinned on a single political party, because the same way political parties are capable of perpetrating fraud, the Electoral Commission officers also are capable of perpetrating the same fraud. So you need to find a way of looking at it so that you can identify who did the wrong thing. But whatever happens, at the end of the collation at the constituency collation centers, the results are entered also onto the collation sheet and are signed and certified and pronounced upon by the returning officer. And in our elections, in our general elections, we have two categories of returning officers. The returning officer for parliamentary elections and the returning officer for presidential elections. And they alone have exclusive powers to pronounce the outcomes of the elections, and nobody else. That is why it takes the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who is the designated returning officer for presidential elections, to pronounce on the presidential elections. No other person can pronounce on the presidential elections apart from the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. In much the same way, at the constituency level, the law mandates only the returning officer in the constituency to pronounce on the outcomes of the parliamentary elections in those respective constituencies. No other person. The chairperson in Accra of the Electoral Commission cannot pronounce the outcomes of the parliamentary elections in any constituency. The regional directors of the EC cannot pronounce on the outcome of constituency elections, even though they may be superior officers to the constituency returning officers. The district officers, if they are not designated as returning officers, cannot announce or declare the results of parliamentary elections.
They didn't take their oath.
Because returning officers, while they are designated before the election, they are sworn in that they speak the truth and declare everything. So those returning officers who are being who are claiming that they have declared one set of results in the constituency, and now they are claiming before their bosses that they were they declared those resources under duress, so they are now going to declare another set of results. They know they may be on the wrong side of the law in future. And so what we are seeing in police training depot, we tried to find out what was happening there, because that meeting was called without any discussions with us as leadership of the National Democratic Congress. We're just here when we heard that our Electoral Commission and the police have decided that the outstanding, what they call outstanding constituencies, or constituencies where there appear to be some conflicts, they are inviting all of them to come and do collation and recollation. For some of us, when we were asked by our officials in the constituencies, we told them that we didn't have any notice about it and we are not involved. In fact, I advised some of them not to appear, because what is going to happen there has no basis in any of our electoral laws. Now, checking from the police about what was happening there, we were told that the Electoral Commission had informed or misinformed the police that the political parties have come together through consensus that we must establish this center at the police training school and then bring all the areas under contention for these issues to be addressed. And we said that sorry, because we tried to find out why would the police accept to protect people who are engaged in some illegality to go about their business. And this was what they told us. We have since told them that we are not part of it. We have never discussed any of these things with the Electoral Commission anywhere. And so we, whilst monitoring, we heard yesterday that Fantiakwa North constituency, whose results had been collated and declared at Begro, had now been recollated at police training depot and declared by somebody who is other than the returning officer.
Redeclared.
Yeah, in fact, it doesn't amount to redeclare. the person who was forced to declare artisanal is not the who has power or authority to declare any results of Fantiakwa at all.
But he was standing by when the returning officer declared.
So, and that person was standing by the returning officer in Begro when the returning officer was declaring the results. And then he is now invited to come and re-declare. And I'm not surprised. You know, it reminds me about your drama in Parliament when the Speaker presides and takes a decision, and then the following day MPP forces a Deputy Speaker to go and reverse the decision of the Speaker. So this is the hallmarks of MPP's impunity. So we don't want to, engage in anything that will escalate tensions. So we have proceeded to court and have applied to injunct the process that is going on there. And we hope we are putting the Electoral Commission and all other people involved in that illegality on notice that what they are doing amounts to an illegality. If they choose to proceed, then they will be ready for the consequences. The staff of the commission who are engaged in this illegality, there will be consequences for them in future. Let me also advise some other influential people in society. I hear that in some cases, chiefs are involving themselves and putting pressure on commission officers not to proceed to do their work according to law. We are also advising Nananom that it is for very good reasons that the Constitution provides that Nananom should not be involved in active partisan politics. But if they choose to descend into the arena of controversy, then they know the consequences will be obvious. So we are advising Nananom to conduct themselves, as many of those who are involved should conduct themselves as chiefs of all the contestants and not to enter into this arena of controversy. Because if you present yourself as a politician, we will treat you as a politician. If you present yourself as a competitor, we treat you as competitor. If you present yourself as a contestant, the other contestants will treat you as such. And I don't think it will be good for us, because the provision in the Constitution barring chiefs from participating in this active politics has at least served our democracy that far. And so we are advising Nananom to take note of that and contribute their quota by way of peace building rather than entering the arena of controversy. Now, I heard my junior brother Afenyo Makin, who, having rejected the position of minority leader, is now on his way to becoming a micro minority leader.
Mini.
bragging that he belongs to a party of rule of law and all that. Who doesn't know about MPP? We in the National Democratic Congress don't need lectures from Afenyo Markin about democracy at all. Indeed, if there were any need for lectures in impunity, then we will invite him as our lecturer. But if it is about democracy, he must shut up. He should go back to his region and take stock of his parliamentary candidates who have been shooting and killing people, his party people who have been shooting and maiming people across the country. We are quiet not because we are going to sleep over this. We are sending notice that all this violence, right from 2016 to date, will be properly investigated, and our electoral system and democracy will be cleaned of these violent stains. Immediately we take over. And so anybody who is thinking about abusing these 3 weeks, abusing his power during these 3 weeks to create any problem, he must know that there will be consequences for him after the takeover. We want to thank you all, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Okay, please.
And so those were the excerpts or details of the press briefing by the opposition National Democratic Congress, an incoming party. Johnson and Tettey as the national chairman, they were raising concerns about the recollation taking place at the police training school. They say it is an illegality and they intend to challenge it. Ibrahim Alassan, the head of our political desk, is here with me. Ibrahim, he says that they have been deliberate in not doing a lot of press briefings because they do not want to escalate the tensions. But this one absolutely required them to speak about.
Well, now this doesn't come as a surprise at all. Sam George was on this platform in the morning, and he had mentioned that, in fact, 3 seats have been declared for the NPP from this special coalition exercise that's taking place at the Tettey Police Training School. And he argues that for those 3 seats, declarations had already been done in the constituencies.
Yes.
And so to him, and as far as the electoral laws are concerned, once declaration is done, the best avenue for you to seek redress is the law court. And that's exactly what Johnson and Tettey, the national chairman for NDC, repeats. He also talks about something that was quite instructive, because many were wondering why the party bigwigs were not there as of yesterday. And he says that when they got to know about it, because they were not consulted, they had asked their party members not to. All right.
Hold that thought for me. We have to go back to the NDC headquarters for the question and answer session after the press briefing.
You still hold the same position on that.
All right, so that will be all.
Yeah.
Blocking the service, the redeclaration.
Well, you can run, but you cannot hide. This is notice that we are giving them. We are putting the whole country on notice. So if an individual officer knows that he is conducting himself well according to law, why would you be running away from service? So the fact that they are running away from service means that they intend to become fugitives of the law. And you know what it means when you get arrested. The injunction application has already been served on the Electoral Commission.
Through one Daniel Nyamiche.
So the one who received the service is Daniel Nyamiche at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission. So Electoral Commission has been served, Bosman Asare, Dr. Bosman Asare has acknowledged receipt of the application, and the director of CID, Faustina Andokofi, appears to ignore the process and has asked the EC to continue. So if Andokofi is allowing the process to continue, she would bear the consequences of her action. And the rest of the questions
Has been answered.
it has been answered.
Really?
I'm saying that, look, if you all sign a declaration here that we are going to commit crime, does that make the commission of the killing of the person legal? It does not. It's conspiracy to commit crime, and they can deal with all of you. And I'm saying, as leader of this party, that I'm not involved in anything that has, arrived at any consensus to do anything anywhere. And when there is a declaration, nobody can do any other declaration. You resort to court. If Afenyo Markin is listening, you go to court. All these charges about I declared under duress and so on, they will be part of the evidence that you will lead in court, that I did this under duress. And then the elements of duress will be investigated, the particulars of the duress will be investigated. And then it will take the court to make a pronouncement on your claim. So you can't say that an electoral officer has told you that he declared the results, but he was pressurized to declare it. So you are going to call that person to come and recollate and redeclare. It hasn't happened anywhere. If that is the case, the process will go on ad infinitum, because anybody in any of the constituencies can come out and claim that he or she was asked to declare under duress. So what do? You have to go and open up. That is why the law is very, very clear that once the declaration has been made, you can only question that declaration in a court of law. And in the case of parliamentary, it's the High Court. So you proceed. And we have precedences, several precedences of this. Tettey myself, only in 2020, it was after the declaration, we brought all the pink sheet down here to the Electoral Commission headquarters in Accra. Our MPs who led the work to present those documents were beaten up by the police. And the Electoral Commission said, you should go to court. Even where we have all the figures and the tally indicate that the officer there was wrong. So we went to court. So what has changed? And incidentally, they are now talking about the same Tettey Mansaf, where they are claiming that some declaration was done wrongly. So now they are calling to now recollate and redeclare. So it's like when it falls this way, then it is not allowed. But when it is that way, then it is allowed. In 2016, when we complained initially about the results that were being collated, collation had not ended. Presidential collation had not ended. Peace Council members came to President Mahamad's office and sought to find out from us what we thought they could do, because we had addressed the press that wrong things were being done. So they followed up to President Mohammed's office to try to find out whether they could be of any help, because they heard us appealing to them. And we said that, look, the pink sheets are there. Things that are being done, we believe, are wrong. So can we all meet at a place, MPP, NDC, in the presence of external observers? Then we all go through the collation, and whatever the figures will come out, we will all accept. That was where they were talking about, they were talking and changing figures, talking and changing figures. So we said, let us deal with this once and for all. Can we all meet and resolve it? Peace Council agreed to go and consult the other side. Indeed, they went to consult the Electoral Commission, and they consulted MPP, and they consulted the external observers, and they actually gave us a time, I think 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, for all of us to meet at Kempinski Hotel for this exercise to be done. That was where collation had not completed, but we found serious problems with what they were, the figures they were announcing. And that was the reason the Electoral Commission invited our agents from the strong room to be briefed about in her office. And so when they had that information, they were now proceeding to go and see President Mahama so that we will all reconverge at the Kempinski Hotel for the exercise that we all agreed to undertake. When they were on their way to President Mahama's office, Jim Mensah was declaring results. And the claim was, if we didn't agree on anything, we should go to court. We went to court asking her to come and mount the witness box and tell us the basis of her declaration, because we have had about 4 or 5 different set of figures that has been announced. So we can only get to the bottom when she tells us what figures totaled which results she declared. Our case was simple, because you have declared results, and we said that give us the figures whose total come up to that result. And the court blocked her from accounting to the nation and turned around to say that we who were demanding that she should tell us the total of her work, we should rather bring our pink sheets. What they are doing now, subsequently, when we brought pink sheets in the case of some constituency election results, as we did in Tettey, Electoral Commission managed to produce some figures which were completely different from those they had signed to and given copies to us. So this conduct is undermining a key transparency measure where we are going now, and by the ruling of the Manchi Court in the case of the Tettey issue, is that even if you are holding a pink sheet signed by Electoral Commission, is useless. If Electoral Commission is able to get another pink sheet whose figures are different, then you must go according to Electoral Commission's figures. So what check would the political parties have against the Electoral Commission officials themselves engaging in fraud? Nothing. So it's a major issue we will be addressing in the next government to make sure that we restore the credibility of the Electoral Commission and the confidence Ghanaians had in our commission before the advent of Madam Jane Mensah. So I think we have, and then somebody was saying because we did what? It is neither here nor there. If we want to follow it, because me, if I went round and everywhere that we lost, I bring them and say that, okay, my claim is that the declarations were done on the duress. What will prevent them from recollating? It will be a chaotic situation. So it's not about anybody winning or losing. In fact, all the constituencies they are dealing with there, I don't think any of them is in our tally as at now. But we still have won, over 180 something seats. So we are just looking for the right things to be done according to law. It's not about winning the election. They themselves, even before the declaration of the result, they themselves have come to tell us that they have lost. But it is not about winning or losing. It's about making sure that the democratic process is followed. And that is why we are doing what we are doing. So thank you very much. We have already crossed 2/3, and nothing can change that one. But we still want to insist that the right thing is done, because the mandate of the people in those various constituencies also matter.
Oh, yeah, it's very important for and the process of this is that Mali confirmed regarding 5,000 at the police personnel. Can you, in a way, for the peace of the nation?
You are what?
Malik Basantelli on his Facebook says
I haven't seen it.
I'll give you Malik Basantelli's number.
I know it's one problem. Some of you be going to so just hold on a little. The media should just hold on a little for us. Thank you very much. The rest, please, step out.
So those were the excerpts of that press briefing, question and answer session, where the chairman of the NDC was answering some questions. Well, at the latter part, he mentions that, well, as the NDC, they have crossed the 2/3 majority in parliament, but they still want to protect these remaining seats. They say that they want the right things to be done. And one thing he also says is that when they get into government, they will ensure that the credibility of the Electoral Commission is restored. So primarily, this press briefing has been in relation to what is happening at the police training school, where some constituencies are being recollated. We had that of Fantiakwa North yesterday being declared in favor of the NPP, Suhum as well being declared in favor of the NPP. Bear in mind that initially these results were declared in favor of the NDC on the ground, but after the recollation process, these have been declared in favor of the NPP, and the NDC is not taking that lightly. Ibrahim Alasan, the head of our political desk, is here with me, and we'll continue with our conversation. So it's emphatic. He says that they have won the 2/3 majority. However, they want to ensure that the right things are done.
Well, of course, that there are no ifs and buts about that. NDC has won more than 180 seats as we speak. But it's not entirely the case that the seats that have been added to the calculation are not up for discussion as we speak. So, for instance, Okankwe Central, Ablekuma North, when you look at the seats that are in contention, that's one of them. Ablekuma North is the seat that got its result declared at the Regional Collation Center or the regional headquarters of the EC. Okankwe Central as well, where Baba Sadekes is also in the count as well. Obuasi East has equally been flagged. and in Saloma Dredgeri, as we are dealing with, Fanti Akwanoff, as you mentioned, Suhum, as you mentioned, and so there are many of these seats that are in contention. However, it's true that regardless of these seats that have been enumerated, the NDC has crossed the 180 mark.
They said they have crossed the 2/3, so it means that they have more than 180. So they have about 185 as we speak, or
185 thereabout. Yes, and so that is it. But yes, his argument is that it's not about adding on to the seats. It's about the fact that there are laws. And the law is that the returning officer, after collation of the results, is expected to make a declaration.
Yes.
And that declaration ordinarily should take place at the constituency collation center. In fact, I dare say that's the reason why we have constituency collation centers. It's for the parliamentary elections. If it had just been about the presidential, they could have just transferred everything to Accra, because Jane Mensah, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, is a returning officer. Now, for one reason or the other, if the returning officer isn't able to make a declaration, then a decision will be taken, but that decision should be in collaboration with the political parties. You all decide. This is not out of place that the security in the collation center is compromised. For one reason or the other, the environment is not safe for this activity to take place. So therefore, let's all agree as to which other place we can all be safe for us to transact this business. My surprise is that Johnson Asiedu Nketia, the national chairman for the NDC, is saying that the NDC was not consulted in the decision to move the collation center to the Tettey Police Training School. That is disappointing, right? Now, aside that, many have asked as to whether deputy returning officers are allowed to make declaration. I'm sure that's not the argument. The argument is that
what is stated in the law
and what happened at the collation center. Was there a declaration? If there was, then it stands until otherwise reversed by a court of competent jurisdiction. In this case, the High Court. If you disagree with the decision of the High Court, you go to the Court of Appeal in that order. And so, yes, Fanti Akwanoff was reversed. So we have a video of the returning officer declaring. And regardless of how you might perceive how the declaration was done, like I said, it's a court that will have to set it aside. Again, I'm not aware that the Suhum declaration was done. But I know Akwetia, our reporter, we sent a reporter.
Suhum is Protozua.
Protozua, yes. I'm not aware that there was an original declaration in Suhum, because we were told that it had been put on hold. It was actually shifted to Tuesday, and it didn't happen. Then there was a directive that it should come to Accra. Akwetia, however, was declared. We sent Presensian there. He tells us that there was a declaration in Akwetia, right, which went the other way. It went in favor of the NDC. That has equally been reversed at the Tettey Police Training School Declaration Center or Collation Center, right? And then, so that's two. And then Suhum was then eventually declared. And we are told that there are others in the pipeline. I've seen a post from one MPP member who mentions that Okankwe North, Okankwe Central, Dome Kwabenya, among other constituencies, are in the offing to be redeclared at the Tettey.
Not being challenged in court, because at least for Okankwe Central, we do know that
he has said
Patrick Boamwa has served notice that he will be going to challenge it in court. I think there's another constituency, Dom Kwabenya, he's also stated same.
Yes.
So it's interesting that despite indicating that they will be going to court, there are conversations now about they being recollated and redeclared.
Exactly. And yesterday on that same platform, we had a conversation about Wejagbawi. Wejagbawi, before the declaration, the NDC decided to party ahead of time, right? So the constituency executives, the party members, and their parliamentary candidates decided to go on a thank you tour in the constituency before the official declaration. By the time they returned,
it has been declared in favor
of the MPP candidate. Now, they had taken it that they had lost, right? And when we were doing the count for Greater Accra, we were actually giving MPP 3 seats. So Wejagbawi, Trobo, and then Anyasotu. Now, they then found out later that the returning officer was reconfiguring the figures on the form
to tally
with the declaration he made, because that will amount to tampering with evidence. Because if the party was to go to court, that's what they were going to use. So it then dawned on them that if the EC officer, right, is reconfiguring the tally, then there will be an issue. There will be an issue. And then they started massing up at the constituency office of the EC. We sat here and said that once there's a declaration, what the party can do is to go to court. So they followed up and they said they were coming to the regional head office for another collation. When they came there, they said the decision was taken that no, let's send everything to the police headquarters. So that was what happened. And that was how they were sent home, right? There's not going to be any recollation and re-declaration. They have to go to court, but they just have to gather their evidence. If indeed what we've seen is anything to go by, then when they go to court, the EC officers will struggle in justifying the declaration.
But in Dedei, was it declared?
No, it wasn't declared. And that's how come, as we speak now, there's an injunction application filed, and if history is anything to go by, once you are served, if the EC's own way of doing business is anything to go by, once you are served, the EC will say that the processes should hold. But I'm told that the process, the directive is that it should proceed.
Yes, and that I think I did hear the chairman of the NDC say that the officer in question who said this exercise could proceed will have to bear the consequences if they decide to take it on.
Exactly. And we also understand that there are some mobilization of party people there. See, we've by and large weathered the storm relative to 2024 elections. Yes. These are crumbs, so to speak, right? And so what we will not expect is allowing this to escalate and then mar everything. Yes. And so cool heads must prevail. If indeed what's happened there is an illegality, I think the political party, and it's good. Kudos to the EC. We are told an IPAC meeting, an emergency IPAC meeting has been called. The political parties should go there and vent as much as they want. After that, there will be sober reflections, and I'm sure the path for the forward march, as far as these processes are concerned, will be determined, and then the country will sail through.
It's our continuous coverage of the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Earlier, we were at the police training school in Tettey, where our reporter Obed Kingaglo was bringing us up to speed with what is happening at the venue. He did engage the Deputy Director of IT and Electoral Service, Deputy Director of IT and Elections. I just lost his name.
Yes, Tanko
Computer. I know his name, but I just missed out the title.
Yeah.
But I know he's the Deputy Director of IT as well.
And Elections.
Fantastic. So he engaged him and he said that they had filed an injunction. I'm sure some of you have spotted it on social media. Yeah. It will be on Star FM's handles as well, Star FM and GHOne TV's handles as well. And where he talked about how some officers aided the incumbent, Frank Anadompre, to evade service. They were not too enthused with that. Afterwards, our reporter made us understand that there are attempts to ask the media to leave the premises. There was one of the NDC members there, Prince Derek J, I believe, who did say that they would not agree to the media men and women being asked to leave the place. And subsequently, we went to the NDC headquarters where the party's national chairman was addressing the press in relation to developments happening at the police training center. He says that what is happening there, the recollation, redeclaration, and among others, are illegal. They intend to take the matters on as well. And he says that as a party, should they come into, when they come into government, not should, but when they come into government, because they are the government in waiting, they will ensure that the credibility of the Electoral Commission is restored. I'm here, like I did say, with Ibrahim Alassan, and we are bringing you the details there. Lots has happened, especially at the police training school. Yesterday, they were there all the way till midnight.
Yes.
All the way till midnight. And then the parties agreed that they would go home and then return at 6 a.m. Yes. to continue the process. And that is because you could see from their faces that they were visibly
ya pomudi ni agobi Ghana fu ni age efi say ya your local spices na ya fra dia ya sankofa natural spice me de gumi.
Without breaking the bank. So on Friday the
And so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the track and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience. GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Emmys Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew. ICC, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup. Because on a production you see a number of people in the van. And so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets. And so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the track and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable.
cost is really, really affordable. My experience with this EMI awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
welcome back to Newsroom here on GHOne Television. It's our continuous coverage of the NDC, I beg your pardon, the national elections, presidential and parliamentary elections, and the National Democratic Congress and parliamentary candidate for Nsawam Adwei constituency, Amenope Philibert Fume, has filed an action at the High Court in Accra to seek a restraining order against the Electoral Commission from collating and declaring the December 7 parliamentary elections, while raising concerns about the integrity of the process, including incomplete pink sheets. He said the outcome would be compromised. Now, the action filed on Friday, December 13 today, 2024, at the High Court in Accra, the NDC-PC is seeking that the declaration be that by reason of the absence of incomplete and or questionable nature of the pink sheets for the Nsawam Adwei constituency, the integrity of the parliamentary elections for the constituency is undermined. Let's go live and speak to our legal affairs correspondent, Mutala Inusa, for some more in relation to this, to give us the details with regard to what the parliamentary candidate for the NDC is seeking. Mutala, what exactly does the NDC parliamentary candidate for Nsawam Adwei want?
Well, what the parliamentary candidate for the NDC wants the court to do is, first of all, to stop whatever processes are happening currently, because he's of the considered view that the processes have been tampered with. The processes that are happening now have integrity issues, because since the whole process started in the constituency, and then everything was pointing to the fact that the NDC jury was the indication from the camp of the incumbent in the constituency is in bed with the incumbent, to the extent that at one point in time, the EC is making the point that they do not have some complement of the pink sheet. And the next morning, they resurface with a pink sheet. So they are asking the question that the EC initially admitted that they didn't have some portions of the pink sheet. And at one point in time, hours later, or the following day, they come out and say that they have the complement of the pink sheet. Where they got that from, they did not know. If that is allowed to fester, if that is allowed to continue in the collation process that is taking place now, he doesn't think that the integrity of the election will be the way it is. And so he's asking the court, by way of asking for a restraining order, an interlocutory injunction to be placed on whatever processes that are happening currently at the police depot. Again, he's also asking the court for a simple outcome. What he's saying is that due to all these integrity issues, due to all the processes that have been taken so far, and the question that they have raised, the court should order for a re-election, a fresh election to be conducted or to take place at Nsawam Adwei constituency. And so, coming to court today, the things that he wants is that, one, the court should stop whatever collation and the subsequent declaration of the result, and the court should proceed and order for a fresh election to be taken or to be conducted at Nsawam Adwei, because the processes that have come so far has been tempered with. And if it's allowed, if the outcome is allowed to come out, it means that there will be a whole lot of issues. So that is what the parliamentary candidate of the NDC for Nsawam Adwei, who has come to court this morning. And I must say that apart from Frank Anodombre, who is the first defendant, they also sued the Electoral Commission. This particular writ action was initiated this morning at 10 past 9. That was when it was filed. So it was not surprising at all when they indicate that they have brought it to the attention of the process or the parties at the collation center currently. But what is clear is that the first action in relation coming out from the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections have come to court, and that is from the NDC parliamentary candidate for Nsawam Adwei.
And thank you very much, Mutala Inusa. That's our legal affairs correspondent, bringing us the details from the court. Essentially, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Nsawam Adwei, he's asking for two things: stop the recollation, and he's asking for a rerun. Ejabing?
Well, still on this particular matter, the NDC's Director for Legal Affairs, Eduji Tamaklo, has been speaking on the injunction.
served the Electoral Commission with an application for interlocutory injunction to restrain the Electoral Commission from doing what they are doing. That process has been served on the EC, and this is it.
But have they confirmed receipt of it?
Oh, without doubt. GJ 0275 2025. It was filed at 9:30 early this morning. Anope Philibert Fume versus Frankano Dompre, Electoral Commission of Ghana.
So he says he has not received it.
Who?
Officer says he has
no, it's not to be, but he is an inferior officer. If I serve them, the court will not even take me serious. I have served the head. No, I have served the head office, and he has to stop. We have brought it to his notice.
But does that affect the three that were declared yesterday?
Which one? No, this one is specific. This is specific, and this is where we are now. And this is where we are now. We are within Sawam now, and this is the process. It doesn't matter. It's a court process. I'm sure somebody like Fenyo Makin will not disagree. He know what he did with the Speaker of Parliament, with injunctions and all of those things, and that is exactly what we have done.
Now, the Member of Parliament for Asante Achim North, Andy Apiakubi, says the defeat of the incumbent government, New Patriotic Party, is a clear indication of the anger of the Ghanaian people. Now, speaking earlier on GA Today, Mr. Apiakubi, who lost the Asante Achim North seat to an independent candidate, says the voters' anger is justifiable.
Most of us are also very angry. So we are angry at our own system. Our own system didn't support us, didn't work for us. So why wouldn't we be angry? Why wouldn't the public be angry? And why will certain regions not be angry also? Because sometimes we are angry at our own people, particularly our ministers and appointees of government. If, for example, you apply for something for your constituents and it's not forthcoming, nobody is even picking your calls, why wouldn't you be angry? So we are all angry. So, and that's why I'm saying that let's learn lessons from it. Because you have a minister who is your colleague in parliament, and you make application to him, you cannot even assess him. He will not even respond to your inquiries. He will not even respond to your calls. Why wouldn't you be angry? And if you have chiefs who are saying that we need this facility here also, and you are not responding to the chief's call, and you are even giving them negative responses, why wouldn't they be angry? So I understand that the anger from the people, from the voters, it's very justified. And the anger from ourselves as members of government is also justified. And you are here, you listen to 96 members of parliament saying something to our president who will not listen to us. Why would we be angry?
Well,
the voters' anger is justified.
Absolutely. And I think that is one thing that has come up forcefully after the polls, that Ghanaians were really upset with how things weren't going.
1.67 million.
Yes.
It's quite synonymous to a very huge victory, but that does it for us on Newsroom now today.
Absolutely.